In considering Jesus' resurrection appearances, what does it mean to encounter the risen Christ? Two extremes are to be avoided. One extreme says that the disciples and Mary Magdalene and Paul saw Jesus as he actually was. This is a naive fundamentalist realism, and we must reject it. Any position that reduces the resurrection appearances into total objectivity is incorrect. Some people think of the resurrection appearances like witnessing any event from history, such as Caesar crossing the Rubicon or Washington crossing the Delaware. If you could, in a time machine, with photography technology and video camera and audio recording capability, you could record it. Is that the way it is with the risen Jesus and witnessing the risen Jesus? Could you photograph it like the way you could any ordinary event in history? For the last 200 years, Western society is plagued with a materialism, and our epistemology has been deeply impacted and shaped by it. We must likewise reject the other extreme, where the appearances are only a figment in the imagination, a psychogenic vision cooked up 100% from the brain, something delusional or pathological, or a benign hallucination, or a mere literary device used to express something different than the actuality of the bodily appearances of the risen Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is risen in me, or something like that. Any position that reduces the appearances to only a subjective experience is incorrect. It's not what the authors are trying to convey. Relative to the resurrection appearances, cognitive neuroscience offers us helpful insight. Many scientists have performed electroencephalograms on people who signal when they have entered a different level of consciousness. For instance, neuroscientists have studied Franciscan religious women at prayer and a layperson practicing Tibetan meditation and analyzed the electroencephalographic tracings carefully. The subjects in such studies described their experiences with the scientists who correlated their report with the brain tracings. Among the many things they learned about the function of the brain in these experiences was that the colors seen characterized different levels of consciousness or awareness. These colors, of course, were products of the technology rather than elements of the brain experience. The anthropologist Dr. Felicitas Goodman, however, has developed a similar insight and taught it at her institute in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Using similar technological experience from experiments in which she participated in Germany, Dr. Goodman interpreted the colors one might see in a trance. The sequence reflects neurological changes. To experience blinding white light is a sign of being in trance, in a different level of awareness. Orange color means that the trance is weakening. To experience naturalistic colors indicates a still weaker level of trance. To see actual figures with clarity means the trance has ended. The visionary has returned to waking consciousness, or pragmatic consciousness, so-called culturally normal consciousness. In other words, cultural consensus reality. In the Israelite tradition, light, blinding white light, is the manifestation of God's honor or glory, his very self. Isaiah chapter 60, verse 1, "Arise, shine, for your light has come. The glory of Yahweh has dawned upon you." Isaiah 62, verse 1. Israel or Jerusalem's vindication shines forth like the dawn, and her salvation like a burning torch. Luke chapter 2, verse 9, "The angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were struck with great fear." The light sometimes takes different forms, that of a cloud, or fire, or flashing brightly. The bright light from sky vault in Acts, even brighter than the sun, that Paul saw on the road to Damascus is typical of stage 1 of an ecstatic trance. Anthropologists identify 3 stages in a typical trance experience. Paul the Pharisee, who was familiar with light in the Israelite tradition, would be aware that he was entering a different level of awareness, a different stage of consciousness, or that some being from the realm of God might be initiating communication with him. His Israelite-informed brain would tell him, blinding white light? That's someone from the realm of God. In the resurrection reports, the young man clothed in a white robe is plausibly a being from the realm of God. In the document called Matthew, the angel of the Lord has an appearance like lightning, and his clothing was white as snow. Similarly, in the document called Luke, the 2 men in dazzling garments are angels. Constellations come down from sky vault, God's sky servants, as they are also explicitly identified in John. In the resurrection reports, Jesus is never associated with the color white. He is described in this way only in the Transfiguration. In the resurrection reports, Jesus is, however, frequently not recognized, and this matches also with alternate states of consciousness experiences. From a neurological perspective, the blinding white color signals that the visionaries are indeed in an alternate state of awareness. They are experiencing visitors from the realm of God and the spirits. Alternate reality. The fact that they often don't recognize the distinct face or figure of Jesus also indicates that this is an experience in an alternate state of awareness. Let's talk about the location of the appearances of the risen Lord. Where did the trance experiences of the risen Jesus take place? 6 occurred near the tomb in which Jesus was buried. 2 were experiences of Jesus himself. 4 were experiences of other beings. 8 appearances were away from the tomb. Regarding the appearances near the tomb, the study of Moroccan Jews forcibly repatriated to Israel in the 1950s is enlightening. In Morocco, these Jews used to venerate a holy man with an annual pilgrimage to his tomb. There they picnicked, prayed, and sought healing in a ritual reminiscent of the ancient Asclepian ritual. When they were moved to Israel, they transferred their devotional practices to the tomb of Rabbi Simeon Bar Yochai at Mera near Zafat. Here, they experienced their holy man in a vision, as they did in Morocco, and obtained favors from him. The important discovery of this study is that many cultures expect to experience a holy man in some altered form of consciousness at his tomb. In Mark's Gospel, the very first title applied to Jesus is Holy One of God. Jesus was recognized as and lived and behaved according to all the criteria of a holy man, identified and described by anthropologists in their cross-cultural studies. The major gift of a holy man to his people is to broker healing from God to those who need it. The firm expectation about a holy man in Israelite culture is that he would be raised to life in the world to come. As for the experiences of the risen Jesus away from the tomb, once again, psychiatric research contributes additional insight to anthropological information. Many cultures, including that of ancient Israel, view death as a process, rather than we do in the West, as a punctiliar event. Death certificates in the West record a specific time of death, down to the minute. Death is seen as a punctiliar event here. In contrast, death as a process usually entails the transition from this world into the next, a transition from one mode of existence, consensus reality, into another mode of existence, alternate reality. Sometimes a journey is involved. In nearly all instances, a metamorphosis is key. Like Paul says to the Corinthian Jesus group, "We shall not all fall asleep, but we shall all be changed." Viewing death as a process allows the survivors to continue to relate to a departed loved one for a significant time after the moment of expiration. Psychiatric research has documented that survivors of a beloved departed one continue to experience that person for many years, but most commonly within the first 10 years after the loss. Thus, the fact that Mary Magdalene is mentioned in all of the accounts of an alternate state of consciousness experience of Jesus and of other beings from the realm in which Jesus is now living with God suggests that her relationship to Jesus may have had stronger emotional roots than that of all the others, except perhaps the 11.